but that's okay. Because last week was.
There she is.
Are you jumping around now? Okay.
Oh,
There.
am I off one?
I don't know. It's fine. Doesn't matter, Matt. They all count. I just got to change my document for later.
Morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
Good
Sorry,
morning.
I was on for a second and then off. I got this weird alert that I had no microphones. Thanks for letting me back in for the second time.
Okay.
You're welcome. So
Good to
Lindsay,
see
I'm going to kick off the meeting and do my little safety talk for 5 minutes, and I'm going to kick it over to Sarah, and then we'll go from there.
Oh, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, where'd you go? Oh, I see you. Here it is.
All right, good morning. Welcome in Friday. It's another Friday safety focus of the week. This week's code item is to be prompt, start on time, work appointments, projects, etc. And again, try to communicate if you're running late. Ben, anything to add?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. If you, especially on a day like today, if you're not going to make it, just call ahead, drive the safe speed, and let people know.
Yep.
It's okay.
Also, another 7 days without a recordable injury. Good job this week, up to 88. Let's keep this trend going. Continue with the best practices of starting your day with a JHA, communicating those known hazards and expectations, how to control those known hazards. Again, eliminate those unsafe conditions and those unsafe acts, and hopefully we can continue this trend. This week, I just wanted to highlight a little bit on forklift safety. This is a great time of year to get either your forklift training certs or your renewals, because recertification should happen roughly every 2 years. And that's just really a quick, just competence check that you haven't really forgot all the best practices regarding forklift safety. So just to recap, we have 3 forklift trucks now. We have 2 Toyota Class 5 that are mostly here around the shop for the garages or the mechanic shops, and then 1 rough terrain for our projects, and that is more of a telescopic boom, has a little bit more comprehensive training, but for the most part, they both apply. The training applies for both. Again, it's a kicker. Everybody must be trained with a theory and a practical regarding forklifts. So please get with myself anytime, and we can run you through the training or a recert. Again, that's every 2 years. It's mostly just a document, a competent check. A couple of best practices is always inspect prior to operating. If there's any issues, make sure that you get with the mechanics and notify that so we can get it under repair immediately. Always lift within the load capacity of the forklift, and then always for all ground personnel and also operators, make sure we have good eye contact before approaching. The 2 major incidents with forklifts is tipping it over and then having a load shift, strike a worker, or actually the forklift itself strike a fellow worker on the ground. So keep a good safety distance away from one another. And then just some quick little driving tips when you're operating the forklift. Let's keep it slow. It's not a race. Again, it should be controlled, smooth operating speeds. Do not travel or turn with a raised load. The forklift could tip over. Again, it's that stability triangle that we talk about in the theory part of the training. Always face your load uphill, and then going downhill, travel in reverse. And then be careful, because all of these forklifts have that rear end swing, and it really has a wide swing radius, and it's more for indoor forklifts where they actually can take down a lot of staging and create a big disaster. But again, in tight quarters here, you could sideswipe a truck or sideswipe a person. So it's very important that we keep that safe distance away from all those potential contact points, because again, it's that struck by hazard and that caught in between hazard that we're trying to avoid when regarding to forklift safety. Well, that's really all I have on this topic. Again, just get with myself regarding any training needs necessary for any crew members out there, and we'll get everybody trained up according to their certifications. Anything to add, Ken?
Yeah, know the weight of what you're lifting and apply the chart.
Yeah, exactly. Yep, thanks. Well, with that said, we're excited to have Lindsay lounge. Sarah, if you'd like to just jump in and do the introduction, and we'll learn about.
So the last guest for our 2021 employee giving is the UVM Cancer Center. We were able to cut a check for $5,039. In addition, the over $4,000 that we were able to cut them for all the pink shirts that you guys purchased.
Yeah.
So just under $10,000 that we cut to UVM Medical. And today Lindsay is here to let us know how it was spent.
She's got a new car. I'm
No,
kidding.
definitely not. Sarah, thank you for that. Matt, thanks for enlightening me to all sorts of things that I never think about. So that too was a nice way to start my Friday morning. I'm thrilled to be here with you all. Thank you very, very much for your support. I know it's a team effort. Certainly everybody contributed what they can, whether through the t-shirts or through their own contributions at year end. And we appreciate that very, very much. What a lot of people don't realize, I'll start quickly in explaining our cancer center, is that we are a matrix organization, and we sit at the medical center, which is where our patients are, of course, but also at the College of Medicine. And we do a variety of activities within those two spaces, largely under 4 pillars: education, research, community outreach, and patient care. Community outreach is, I'll just touch on first. It seems like sort of an outlier to some of those when people think about the Cancer Center, but that's where a lot of our screening and prevention work happens. Right now, we're working to secure a very expensive mobile unit that will go around and do lung cancer screening, because Vermont has one of the highest rates of lung cancer in the country. So as an example, that's something that's a combination of research to figure out that that's the fact, that is in fact the case. And what we can do about it is potentially reach our very rural populations, as I trust you guys are often in some of those communities as well, and interacting with folks who may not make it a priority to get into the medical center for screening, and this will make that access more reasonable. So that's a combination of community outreach and research that we might not think about on a regular basis. Other research happens very much in a lab, like you would imagine, petri dishes and test tubes, and looking at cells under slides and microscopes to figure out the origin of cancer, such that we can then translate that to the bedside in the patient. So it spans the whole gamut of research around what's happening to cancer patients and their families. In terms of education, we partner very, very closely with the College of Medicine, as well as residents and trainees, to make sure that they're getting the experiences that they need and the mentorship that they need to be the best possible oncologists and or researchers as they go forth in their careers. So those 3 pieces, and then there's patient care, which I know from my conversations with Ben and Sarah is most important, or seems most relevant and immediate to you guys, and certainly to many in our community. We do serve all of Vermont, though more so the northern portion, as well as upstate New York. About 90% of our patients are in Vermont, so I don't know how often you guys cross over the lake, but for our patients, that's about 10% of them who are taking the ferry, staying here in hotels or the Hope Lodge, and or schlepping back and forth to get treatment at our medical center, at our cancer center. And one of the things that these dollars really make possible, philanthropy makes possible, and your 10,000 approximately is in this category, is patient support. So when patients come in for their cancer treatment, they have a variety of things going on, as many of us unfortunately can understand all too well. Cancer treatment, their chemo, their radiation, their surgery may only be one small piece of that puzzle in terms of finances at home, transportation issues, childcare issues, all of the other life things, pandemic or otherwise, that we have to navigate, that become incredibly difficult when you're also going through a cancer experience. So philanthropic funds of this unrestricted nature often go into patient support in providing things like ferry passes, meal vouchers, childcare vouchers, referrals to services that allow people to go into their treatment with a little more comfort and fewer financial pressures and distractions. So that's one example of how these funds absolutely change lives of thousands of people in our cancer center every year. So that's my sort of overview, and the most prominent example of how your very generous and collaborative support is helping your neighbors every single day. I mean, we have kept our cancer center, of course, open through the pandemic, through the cyber attack that you may have heard about a year or so ago at our medical center. It was absolutely devastating in a lot of ways, but cancer treatment can't be delayed. And we had to absolutely figure out ways on the drop of a hat, much like all of you did in your respective spaces, to continue to treat them and provide the absolute highest quality of care possible, as well as things like clinical trials that needed to continue to go forth.
Thanks, Lindsay. Hey, I got to just say that, you know, I feel very fortunate that we have the UVM medical facility here in Vermont. It's like a world-class urban scale and quality, you know, medical center. And like you're pointing out about how the people, you know, the upstate New Yorkers have come over here and travel and go through the hardship and inconvenience of getting over across the lake. And it's right here for us. So it's very fortunate. It couldn't have been easier. It can't be easier than that. So.
Yeah. Well said, Ken. And we hear that time and time again from folks who go to, say, Boston or New York and get a second opinion upon initial diagnosis, and almost always are referred right back to Burlington, and you know, with those providers saying you can get the best care possible there. That being said, there are a few cases where we don't have the expertise here in Burlington simply because of numbers. We don't see enough patients in one very specific area, and our clinicians partner very, very closely with providers at all of those larger cancer centers to make sure that our local patients get absolutely everything they need. So we're very, very fortunate.
Well, good. Thank you for joining us this morning. And you're welcome to continue on. We got just a few more minutes to describe one of our projects we're highlighting this week, as well as a few other announcements.
Yeah, right. Well, thank you again. Like, I wanted to keep it short and high level, but the impact, I could go on for quite some time, as you can probably imagine, on the various research studies. We've got one coming out, actually might be on the news this week, around rectal cancer. Not something that's very pleasant to speak about, but very, very important. And so we might see that on the local news. We are getting quite a bit of good recognition around lots and lots of research, and our new cancer center director, who came from Hawaii, I'm sure he's not very happy on a day like today, but he is taking our cancer center to new heights in really, really impressive ways. So if you happen to see Dr. Randall Holcomb on the news, he's an incredible leader, and we have much to look forward to as we go forth in our healthcare journey here. So thank you again for your support and for allowing me to say hello on this snowy, icy morning.
So one more thing, Lindsay, I assume that if any of us wanted a tour of the facilities and to meet actual researchers and people that are involved in the care of cancer treatment, I'm assuming that's something that you kind of coordinate. And
yes, by all means.
It happens, I assume, all the time, right?
Yeah, I would love to help make something like that happen, and or have folks join a call like this. If that would ever be appropriate in terms of, let's say the top 5 things that you can do to keep yourself healthy, kind of in our safe,
like a wellness.
It would be appropriate audience for this, physically, mentally well, and get your screenings and, figure out how to do that sort of thing. We can weave that in. We do a little bit of that partnership in terms of community outreach and wellness. So
I think
we
that
can make
wellness part would be a good topic for, an upcoming safety meeting on Friday morning. So we'll keep that in mind.
We got your number.
Yeah.
I'll look forward to it. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Okay, I'm going to take over. Are we all set, Sarah? You have anything more to say?
No, thank you.
Okay. Let's see. Got to find the right screen here. There we go. Okay, does everyone see that? The email of the week.
Just came up on mine. Yep.
Okay. Forklift safe. Maybe I meant safety, but it sounds pretty cool. Forklift safe. Let's be forklift safe. President's Day is Monday. I didn't even write the day down there, did I? So federal and state holiday, and ECI offices are closed on Monday. And submit your time by 6 a.m. Tuesday morning, or even perhaps the end of today. new fuel cards, or these are old messages, new fuel cards, and the are with Sarah, so turn the old ones in. And it's still cold out there in the mornings again, so the white container for the diesel fuel supplements important to get in the tanks of our equipment that run off diesel. Here we have Mark Peliquin, one of our newest employees. So welcome, Mark. Mark's going to be in the office right next to Sarah's office. So stop by in the office and say hello. And the 2021 employee charity giving. So we concluded our series of representatives from the 4 different charities that we collectively gave to, and I'll say it again, I'm very proud that the company and the employees really contributed a total over $20,000 to these 4 charities. In a couple weeks, we'll have a presentation by Beth Schiller on our primary care wellness plan. And the weather outlook, of course, we see what's going on outside. It's messy. Going to be some more up and down cycles of temperature. And the COVID policy has not changed. We did lift the mask mandate in the ECI buildings in the last week. That was from last week's announcement. And then I don't know if did Ben McKinney get on? Talk about the project of the week.
I did, yeah.
Good. You want to take over, or you want me to scroll through?
If you want to scroll, I can read it.
I'll
And
get
that
it.
way
There we go.
go to some pictures. Just pull it up here. So over the next couple weeks, we're going to highlight a series of projects that we've been working on since midsummer, right at the Burlington waterfront. So ECI is involved in 4 active VTrans contracts in and around the Burlington rail yard. We're the prime contractor on the Burlington VTRY 50 and the Burlington VTRY 52 projects, and we're a sub on the Burlington VTRY 51 and Burlington STP 15 projects, working for Vermont Rail System and Jay Hutchins on those 2. Cumulative contract value for all 4 projects is over $12 million, and ECI is responsible for over half that total. The driving force behind all this work and all these broken up projects is creating Amtrak service between Rutland and Burlington. This is something that's been in the works for decades. This Western Corridor passenger service between those 2 Vermont cities. There has been Amtrak service from Rutland to New York City via the Clarendon and Pittsford, the CP Rail, and CSX. So this will get from allow service from Burlington to New York City. Currently we have Amtrak service and have had Amtrak service on the other side of the state, on the Vermonter line from St. Albans to Brattleboro and beyond. But this will be a major link to the city of Burlington itself. So the project involves the construction of a station platform, several thousand feet of bike path, the installation of dozens of track turnouts, switches, over a mile of continuous welded rail, highway approach and streetscape improvements, and realignment of La Valley Lane, the construction and reconstruction of miles or thousands of feet anyway of track in the yard and mainline track, and construction of a brand new Amtrak siding. This is the end for Amtrak, so Amtrak will pull in there. So there's some additional infrastructure to accommodate that. It also provides for the construction of a cast-in-place concrete locomotive jacking pad in the engine in the yard. There's an engine house and a turntable. That's where they do the maintenance on the VTR locomotives. And finally, the project provides for the reconstruction of 7 grade crossings and signal systems. This week, we'll be looking at the crossings and the signal upgrades. So for College, King, and Maple, those four east-west roads that go down the hill and end right at the lake, we had a full depth reconstruction of each of those crossings. And the Maple Street crossing is 4 tracks. It was 3, and then the addition of the new Amtrak track for this project. Flynn and Home, we also improved. Those were a simpler scope there, not the deep full depth construction with drainage and utilities and highway approaches. College, King, and Maple also got signal systems, and these signal systems, like most of the new system installs we do now, are computer controlled using motion detectors. And so these provide consistent train approach warning times, the gates going down and the lights and the bells going off for trains moving at different speeds. So like where a traditional relay control system would have a track circuit that the train would close that circuit and a relay would pick up and the alarms would go off. These more modern signals are a lot more complicated, and they allow for this consistent warning times for trains traveling at very different speeds, which is of course what you'll get when you're combining passenger and freight service like we are here. This specific system is quite complicated. The signal house at Maple is a 12 by 16, which is the biggest one that I've ever seen installed on one of our projects. And the three crossing signal systems are all linked from a control logic standpoint. So it's definitely not your average crossing system. We've got most of the below grade work done, with the exception of the two houses at King and Maple. But the whole signaling industry has been plagued by supply chain issues with batteries, aluminum, and copper. So we only have, gates and a house up at College. We're waiting for material and expect to get that installed at King and Maple and get the whole system and all three crossings commissioned and up to speed in the spring. The College Street crossing itself, which we did for Jay Hutchins, was conducted during a closure period, during which the GC did some major streetscape and reconstruction of the circle area, construction of the station platform, and some bike path tie-in. The other two, Maple and King, were reconstructed during full road closures in an off-site detour through LCT property, through Lake Champlain Transportation, that should say, property, private property that ECI designed and procured and scoped, since we weren't allowed to shut the roads down, but no provisions in the contract had been made for maintaining traffic. So the signal work is ongoing, like I mentioned, and in the coming weeks, we'll talk a little more about our concrete work, some of the highway, bike path, parking lot rehab work, and some of the heavy track work we're doing in the yard. You can see there, that's College. You can see, I guess north would be to the left in that picture. You can see the circle in front of the Echo Center there. And then scrolling down, I think the next shot has both King and Maple. Can you scroll, or do I have it? There you go. Yes, you can see the 4-track crossing at Maple.
I'm trying to scroll by just tapping it because it keeps jumping back if I don't, so it's going slower than I wanted to.
No problem. That looks like Maple, and that looks like it's in between King and Maple. You can see full track. That's actually prepping for a turnout. There's several turnouts in between these crossings, and essentially right up to the crossing.
It's really the approaches to the crossings, right?
Yeah, with the turnout, right? There's turnouts in the approach. I guess there's a number 8 going there as part of our VTRY 51, but that may just be the full depth track. There's Maple itself, prepping for pavement. This pavement's actually temporary.
Too bad.
It is, yeah, it's just too bad. Nothing to do with us, but because of some scope changes that the owner was adamant about, in some contract overlap. They happened to both be our contracts, but one wasn't awarded at the time. We had no choice but to get things buttoned up for the winter, and then we'll come back in the spring and, as extra work, do it again and realign through these 2 crossings under a different contract. This is the guys getting ready for signal foundations at College this fall.
Yep. Make this move a little faster.
It's the same day at College. You can see where the brick pavers and that work butts up against to our our precast panels. Looks good. You can see that frog is immediately off the edge of Maple Street, tying the number 1 and the main track together. That's a power switch, one of 3 power switches installed as part of the project versus a hand-thrown switch. There's the guys right into the work in Maple. We found an old ice tunnel going to the ice house. Dry laid stone, rectangular cross section, like a box culvert, but it was apparently had a conveyor in it, and they brought ice from the lake up into the ice house with it. It's historic, slowed us down a little bit, but eventually we moved forward.
Did we have to preserve any of it?
I don't remember. They took a long time to decide. I think we took the cap off. I think that they didn't want it removed, but we were able to fill it with dense grade and build over it after more delay than we would have liked.
Yep. Looks like we're probably at the end here. And I did include a link there to the VTrans project overview, which.
So,
go ahead.
Nope. I was going to move on to the photo of the week. Yeah, no, that'd be interesting to check out.
Yeah, actually, it shows the Virgin's Ferrisburg train station with us doing the site work. It's an aerial shot, so it's pretty cool. So check it out.
Very cool. Looks like Kenny Munson raking out topsoil in 1999 on Maple Street. Is that Kenny?
Looks like him, doesn't it?
That may be the last known photograph of Ken Munson raking topsoil. Doesn't look like his operator was doing him any favors either.
No, doesn't look that way.
Hey, well, I still got the mic. I'll just a quick plug. Wellness program I joined a couple weeks ago. If anybody's thinking about it, heard about it, not sure what it's all about, highly recommend it. I had a really positive experience. In and out quick, but they helped me out, and it felt like a really high level of care, and didn't cost me a thing. And yeah, I highly recommend it. The one other thing I'll mention is that we now have cameras, forward-facing cameras installed in all of our big and what I would call medium-duty trucks. That's anything over 19,500 GVWR. So that's our F550s, our international M2s, what we call 3-yarders. I believe the salt trucks, the single-axle salt trucks, tandems and triaxles, all have forward-facing cameras. I definitely encourage any users of these big trucks to get with Scott, to get with Chico on instruction. What these are designed to do is not necessarily to monitor you. They're not looking at you, but to protect us, really by recording the actual instances of a potential, moving violation or a moving issue or a collision of some sort, where we could be implicated as at fault, as big trucks often are. So definitely get with those guys on instructions on how to record them in the event of an incident. Essentially, they're on a loop, and then if something happens, you hit record, and that'll preserve going back, a certain period of time in the past, and that'll preserve that for our records. So, FYI.
Yep, it could be very useful to protect all of us, the driver included. So, okay, good. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you, Sarah, for being on, and I'll pass it back to Matt. Have a good, safe day out there. Be careful with the roads. They're probably still a little slick.
Yeah, well said. Thanks, everybody. Be safe today. And if you watch in a group setting, just please send me over the list so I can just update the attendance report of this morning's meeting. But yeah, we had a good participation, so let's keep it up. Have a good day.
Okay, take care.